Hi, and welcome to LinkAsia. I'm Thuy Vu. President Obama's Asian strategy put on hold because of the stalemate over the budget and the government shutdown. Obama was supposed to visit the Philippines and Malaysia and attend big regional summit meetings in Brunei and Indonesia. What do the cancellations mean, particularly for Obama's policy of pivoting toward Asia? To discuss this, we have Don Emmerson on the phone. Professor Emmerson is head of the Southeast Asia Forum at Stanford University.
I would venture to say that the damage will probably be less than one might fear. Hillary Clinton, when she was Secretary of State, once famously said, "Showing up is half of diplomacy." I don't believe that. I think it's less than half, especially in the 21st century, where there's so many other ways of even projecting an image of yourself and giving a speech through cyberspace, right? And I think people in Southeast Asia, at least the elites, the middle class, and perhaps even ordinary people, if they know about this situation, would realize that the United States is in dire domestic political straits. And it's quite understandable that President Obama would want to stay at home when the fate of the American political system, if I can be a little melodramatic, is at stake. What bothers me here is that the issue of the Middle East, which has not come up in the press coverage of Obama's cancellation, as far as I can tell, that's the real issue. That is to say, the elites in Southeast Asia are looking at the Middle East. They're looking at Secretary Kerry. And where did John Kerry travel? He didn't travel as his predecessor did, Hillary Clinton, back and forth across the Pacific. Hillary Clinton visited all of the Southeast Asian countries. She was the first American Secretary of State to go to the headquarters of ASEAN in Jakarta, Indonesia. She was really identified with an American rapprochement, if it were put that way, with Southeast Asia. And I think that quite apart from this cancellation, Southeast Asian statespersons and elites and people who read the newspapers and go online, find out what's going on in the world, they're concerned that the Middle East is going to suck the oxygen out of the room in Washington, and there will not be enough room for America to pay attention to Southeast Asia.
Well, that's very interesting. Going back to the original Asia trip, though, also on the itinerary were the APEC and East Asia summits. How significant are those to U.S. goals in Asia?
The APEC summit is all about the American weakness in East Asia compared with China. And so the problem here is this. The Southeast Asians are getting in a situation where they go to China for money, for economic opportunities, for investment, for trade, and they go to the United States for security, military security, the Seventh Fleet, the ships that can protect them from, if you will, Chinese imperialism in Southeast Asia. Because remember that China claims virtually the entire South China Sea. And 4 ASEAN claimants disagree strongly with that position. And they look to the United States to balance China in the security realm. But the problem for that, especially for me as a tax-paying American citizen, is that I don't think it's fair for us to provide the security that enables the Southeast Asians to go to Beijing and Shanghai and make a lot of money. I think the American economic presence in Southeast Asia is absolutely crucial. And the famous pivot should really be both a security pivot and particularly an economic pivot. And so it will reinforce the image of the United States as being a military presence, and it will kind of also strengthen the position of Xi Jinping, who will definitely be at that meeting, no question about that, as the real source of support for the economic development of Southeast Asia, which after all is such a very high priority to all of the countries in the region.
There certainly has been much about that, the concern over a rising China. Thanks so much, Don. Don Emmerson is an expert on Southeast Asia and is with the Shorenstein Asia Pacific Research Center at Stanford University. He is also a LinkAsia advisor.
Now on U.S. airwaves, a global channel of uncompromising stories. World news, documentaries, entertainment, and culture. Link TV, connecting you to the world. For more information, visit linktv.org.